Okay, so for today's class, we're going to go over The Wolf, which is the book that you all should have read last night. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to focus mostly on the genre of the book. Does anybody know what a genre is? No? Okay. So a genre is a kind of book. It's the type of book that you would have read. So if we think of books about history, like the Korean War, we would say that's a history book. It's the genre, the type of book that it is. So there's lots of books, right? We have The Wolf, for example, which talks about friendship and talks about reading and education. Then we have history books that talk about certain events in the past. We have sports books that can talk about soccer, basketball, football. So we have all different kinds of books. So today we're going to talk about what kind of book the Wolf is. We're going to talk about it and see what type of book it is. And I'll let you guys know what that is very soon. So to start the lesson, I want to talk about the different characters in the book. So who can name me some? The Wolf? Perfect. So let's put up his picture so we all know and can see what he looks like. So the Wolf is, who would say that the Wolf is like the main character? I would. He's kind of like, the whole story is around him, right? We learn about him very early on because he was trying to eat the animals at the beginning of the book, right? So I would say he's the most important. Should we put a little star? Let's put a star. Let's put a star beside the wolf. Okay, we have, so who's next? What's another character? The pig? Yeah, perfect. So we have the pig, so we'll put that up. We'll put the pig up because he's important to the story as well. So there's the pig. He doesn't look very happy, right? No, he looks pretty angry or annoyed. Okay, and what's the last character? The cow? Perfect. Yeah, let's add the cow on here. Should we put him up here? Yeah, let's put him up over here. Okay, so we have 3 of the characters from the book. We have the cow, we have the wolf, and we have the pig, right? So those are our 3 main characters, we would say, because they come up a lot in the book, right? So let's start with the wolf. How would you describe the wolf? What is he like as a character? So let's throw some ideas out. So he's big. Okay, perfect. Big. I like that. He's big. What else? Gray. Perfect. He's a gray and white, right? Yeah, perfect. Let's say he's gray and white. Okay. What else? What else does he do? Okay, so he tries to eat the animals. He eats animals. We could say that, right? Perfect. Okay, so 3 things. Perfect. Let's end with 3 things, and then we'll come back to the wolf. Or what about the pig? What would we say the pig is like? So he's small. Good. Yeah, pigs are kind of small, right? And what else? He's pink. Good observation. I like that. He is pink. Pink. Perfect. Okay. What else would we say? He's mean to the wolf? Yeah, I would say that he's kind of mean to the wolf at the beginning, right? When the wolf is trying to learn to read, he's not the nicest. Okay, so we'll say mean to the wolf. Perfect. Okay, so let's go to the cow. What would we say about the cow? So he's big? Yeah, him and the wolf are big, huh? Okay, and what else? He's black and white? Yeah, perfect. Let's describe the color. Black and white. Perfect. And was he nice? He doesn't talk a lot, right? Yeah, we could say does not talk a lot. Perfect. Okay, so those are 3 things that we have about the 3 characters. 3 and 3. Okay, so I'm going to ask you all a question. What is the one thing that all 3 of the characters do that's the same? What do they do that's all the same? They like to read. Perfect. You were reading really closely. I like it. So they all like to read. Perfect. So they all like to read. So that's something that all three of them like to do, right? So let me ask you one other question. So we have the characters, they take place on a farm, right? Because they're all animals, so they're all going to be on a farm. Maybe not the wolf, because you don't want wolves normally on your farm. But all of the animals live on a farm. Nothing special about that. Barn animals should be on a farm. But then we have the wolf who he goes to the library, right? So let's put that other location on there. So he goes to the library, right? So we have the library, right? So let's put that up. Perfect. So we have the library. And then the wolf goes to a classroom, which is something that we're in right now, right? And he does that, why? To learn to read. Perfect. Yeah, he does that to learn to read. So I'll put the classroom over here. Okay, so let me ask you one other question. How many animals have you seen in a classroom or in a library? How many animals have you seen in any of those places? None, right? And why is that? Because they shouldn't be there, right? So if we look at all of the different characteristics to the animals, we'll see that they do things that are not animal-like. So one of them, which we all agree, is that the animals love to read. Well, in real life, animals don't read. At least none that I know of. Maybe you have special Korean animals that know how to read. I don't know. So that's going to start our conversation about today's lesson, which is genre. So the genre, I would say, for the wolf is a fantasy book. So fantasy is a type of book. Fantasy books are normally fiction, so they're fake. It means that they talk about things that don't really happen in real life. So thinking of fantasy as not real life, what would we say would be a characteristic? What could be a thing that fantasy novels include or have? Talking animals. I like it. Perfect. So we could say talking animals would be an idea. So we have, in the wolf, we have the animals that talk to each other. But not only that, we know that the wolf went to class and participated. He talked in class. Well, he talked to humans. So he's a talking animal. He talks to the pig and the cow, but he also goes to class. He goes to the library to read. And not only that, but he also went to a bookstore, right, in the novel. We know that, I don't have the picture, but we know that he did go to the bookstore. So he had to talk to people when he did this. And that makes it a fantasy novel because in real life, animals don't talk. So we would say that it sometimes happens in things happen in fantasy novels that won't happen in real life. So events, we could say events that do not happen in real life. So a wolf going to a bookstore would definitely be not something you see every day. So we would put that as a fantasy novel. So let me give you one other example. We all know the story Cinderella. Do we know the story Cinderella with the mice? Yeah, okay, perfect. So we know this one, right? So Cinderella not only has talking animals in it, because the mice talk to each other and to her, but there's also magic in Cinderella. Now, magic is not in The Wolf, but it is normally included in fantasy novels, right? Like, and Cinderella happens in a different time. It happens in an older time. So it still happens in a setting that's real life. But here's the tricky part. If we think of fantasy, we could also think of Harry Potter, which I think has everybody read Harry Potter or watched the films? Yeah? Okay, some of you. But Harry Potter happens where? In a made-up land, right? With magic and wizards and everything. So it would be fantasy. Wait, you have a question? Oh, okay, what's your question? Okay, so your question is, if it takes place on a farm for the most part, then how is it fantasy? Well, you're right. The setting of the novel is not something that is like Harry Potter. It's not a different world, right? Well, fantasy novels can happen in different, like we would say made up locations, but they can also happen in real life situations. So they have settings that are not made up. They can happen in like a farm, for example, or a classroom, which is not a made up place because we are in a classroom, but it's what happens in the classroom that's different, or what happens on the farm that's different. So what's different is the farm has talking animals. That's what makes it a fantasy. The location you're right, the setting is not made up. We have farms. Farms exist. They exist where I'm from in Canada. They exist where we are now. So it's not made up. But what is made up is talking animals. Also, the fact that we should note that the wolf has glasses and he wears a vest. He has clothes and he has money. So he's acting, we would say. So we have animals that are acting like what? What do you think they're acting like? Like us, like humans, right? They're acting like us. So we have animals that are acting like humans. And that's what makes this book a fantasy, because it's things that don't actually happen in real life. So if you think of other books that we've read in class or on your own outside of class, you might find that a lot of them, especially kids' books, they tend to like to have talking animals. Why? Well, animals are cute, right? So we have animals that are cute, like the wolf and the pig and the cow. It makes them fun. And what's fantasy about them is the fact that they talk and they act like humans and they do things that we do. They go to class, they go to a library, they have money, they wear clothes. So that is why this book, The Wolf that you read last night, is something that we would call a fantasy book, because it has all of these elements to it. So if we looked at the book more closely, and it's going to be an activity we're going to do, so pay attention. We're going to look at each character and determine what makes them less animal-like and more fitting to fantasy. So I want you guys to spend a few minutes and work with the person beside you and come up with some other ideas that we didn't talk about fantasy, and see what else you can find out about this book that makes it a fantasy book. And then we're going to talk about it a little bit more, okay? Sounds good. Awesome. Okay, and that is the end of my mock class. So I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, okay, bye.